Welcome back to Head Speaks and my 18th episode. This episode is my second Star Wars themed episode. Also, on a little head, we're going to talk a little bit about my brother, Jerry Lee Todd II. And as I said, more Star Wars. Stick with us.
Aw, yeah. Feels good. The time has come to enjoy myself.
Hello, greetings and hi there. This is the Head Speaks podcast, a proud member of the Headcast family. I am your host, Aaron Moss, also known as Brother Head. Welcome to Head Speaks, where I'll be talking about comics, movies, and recent news items that interest me. Basically anything that strikes my fancy.
Warning! Warning!
This podcast may not be family friendly. Head Speaks may contain adult language, adult content, fantasy violence, and nudity. You have been warned. The young, stupid, and easily offended may not want to listen to this headcast. In other words, parental guidance is more than suggested.
Before I get started, I want to wish all my listeners a very Merry Christmas, and I hope you guys had a very good Thanksgiving. But now we can actually get started with the show. Let's start today's show out with...
Oh, yeah.
A little head.
And I'm back. It's that time of the year. It's a little behind the scenes. I'm recording this the week of, it's the end of November, the beginning of December. As I said, usually I take a couple of days to record my podcast, record bits and pieces here and there. So in real time, it's just a couple of days after the 31st anniversary of the house fire that I had when I was a kid. And it's just under 2 weeks from the 31st anniversary of the death of my brother, Jerry Lee Todd II. If you're friends with me on Facebook, I had a long-winded post the other day about this. If you're not into the more morose and sadder subjects, you may want to avoid today's episode. Or at least this segment, not today's episode, but this segment of today's episode. In fact, I'll say right now, if you want to skip ahead about 30 minutes, you can bypass this whole section. So again, skip to about the 30-minute mark. You can skip this whole little section of Head Speaks today and go straight to the main thrust of today's podcast, Star Wars. A more happier, upbeat time. All right, thanks. And 1, 2, 3. I assume if you're still here, you want to hear this part of the episode, so let's begin. Over the last few episodes, I've been talking about my family. I've talked about my 4 kids. This month, I decided to talk about my brother. Again, those that listen to my podcast for a while, I've talked about him before, especially around this time of the year. His name was Jerry Lee Todd II. He was born February the 26th of 1973, and he died December the 12th of 1984. This episode will probably drop around the 8th of December, a few days before the actual 31st anniversary. But let's go and get on with today's segment. I've been debating how much time and how much detail I want to go into this portion of this episode today. So I've got very few notes. I'm going to play it by ear. Again, bear with me. If you don't want to bear with me, jump ahead. But again, as I said, this podcast, while I hope others are enjoying it, this is kind of my therapy for life. There's a few things that's in my past that's bothers me that makes me who I am today, for good or ill. One of the major things, one of the big things, is the death of my brother. Again, I was 14, going on almost 15. I was 2 weeks shy of 15 when he died. So again, as a young lad, that's left a disturbing and a large. It's made a big impact on my life. I would say a lot of my choices, and the reason I am where I am today, I think a lot of that has to do with my inadequacy, I guess you could say, to prevent my brother from dying. Just in brief detail, I'll cover that again as I've talked about probably last year around this time. In 1984, again, I was 14. It was almost a month shy of my 15th birthday. As I said, November the 28th. It was late at night. My mom was working at a rest home 2 houses down. The owners of the rest home were running late. They weren't home on time. Me and my brother had school the next day. We were down with my mom at the rest home, and we were trying to sleep. And there was this one crazy older lady there that she had some mental issues, and she was always thinking that she had bugs crawling all over her. She would come to me and my brother, "There's bugs crawling on me, there's bugs crawling on me, get them off." And again, I was 14, my brother was 11. He was less prepared to deal with the craziness than I was. I just ignored her and go to, lay there, go to sleep, because that's the way I am. I didn't ask my wife, I go to sleep almost anywhere. But my brother, she was bugging him. So it was about 11-ish, and my mom asked me, to walk my brother down to the house and, keep him company, and, so my brother could go to bed at our house. Again, we were 2 houses down. I was almost 15. My mom thought I was old enough and mature enough to handle it. So we walked down, and I was super tired, so we went in the house. My mom's room was first, my mom and dad's room. So, and often growing up, me and my brother would take turns sleeping with my mother, because my stepfather, the guy that I don't want to say affectionately, but the guy we referred to as the boy, he worked graveyard most of the time, so me and my brother would take turns sleeping with my mother in her bed, just because we like, snuggling with our mom, and we both loved our mother dearly. So that night we went in. Again, as we said, we walked in. My mom's room was first. I was tired, so I'm going to bed here. So I went to my mom's room, crawled in her bed, went to sleep. My brother went on to our room and presumably crawled in our bed and went to sleep. We had bunk beds. I don't remember at this time, because we'd switch back and forth. For a while I'd be on the top, for a while he'd be on the top. So I don't remember who was on the top at the time, but anyways, so he went in our bed, and again, I assume he went to sleep. Next thing I remember was I smelled smoke. And at first I didn't think much of it, because I thought maybe, I'd been asleep, so I thought it was morning and Mom was fixing breakfast and maybe accidentally burned something. So I rolled back over and figured I'd get a few more minutes of shut-eye for Mom came to wake me up for breakfast. And the smell of smoke was still there. But as I laid there trying to sleep, the smell of smoke didn't go away. And it didn't smell quite like cooking smoke. It smelled wrong. So I sat up in bed, and when I looked around, the room was filled with smoke. And I saw a light coming from my parents' doorway, bedroom door. So I jumped up and ran out of the hall, or not the hall, but at the time, when you walked into the house, you walked into the front room, and immediately connected to the front room is my parents' room. And then if you keep walking to the front room, you walk straight into the kitchen with the door to the right leading to my brother's room. So I ran out from my mom's room into the front room, and there between me and the kitchen was a wall of fire. So not knowing what else to do, I yelled for my brother a couple of times. I didn't hear a response, so I hoped he got out, and I fled the house to try to get help. I still remember to this day if I shut the door, if I left it open. Not that it matters in the scheme of things, but it will come back up later in the story. So I ran down to where my mom was working at the rest home 2 houses down, and I pounded on the front door, and no one answered. So I ran back down towards my house, across the street to our neighbors, whose daughter was about my age and had a son that was really, a few years younger that I'd go over and play with once in a while, hang out with. And I pounded on their door, yelling for help. And I believe they heard me, and they opened up and called the fire department. Again, a lot of this is kind of a little hazy. It's been, as I said, 31 years, and it was a tragic night. So, and I'm not the most reliable narrator in this case, but the fire department showed up shortly thereafter, and I found out later that a guy back behind our house across the street was with the volunteer fire department. So I guess he had smelled the smoke or saw the fire, whatever. He came rushing over, and before the fire department got there, he already had our water hose out, trying to spray down the house, trying to contain it and stop the fire. A few minutes later, my mom comes running down the street from where she was working at, because I guess the neighbor or the people that she'd worked for just gotten home, and as they drove by, they saw the house on fire, so they told my mom. So she comes running down, and at this point, that's when I realized that my brother wasn't with my mom, which means he was still in the house. It was blazing. So we told the fire department that, where the bedroom's at, and I think my brother's still in there. So they went in through the bedroom window, I believe it was, or I don't know how. They went into the bedroom. They got to the bedroom. Couldn't find him at first. And then they finally found him between our bed and the wall, or the bedroom window. We had a space about a foot or so. And we had a couple of night tables there. We had one table down below, and then we had like two of them stacked on top or something, so we had one for the top bunk. Ingenious little kids we were. They found my brother, in between the wall and the bed, covered in blankets. They assumed that he was trying to hide from the fire, and had covered himself to protect himself, is what they were assuming. Again, he never regained. He was unconscious at the time. In fact, they think he was dead when they pulled him out at first. So we'll never know what he was intending, what was going on, what happened with him. But like I said, they pulled him out. They rushed him to the hospital, then take him to Fresno Hospital here in Fresno, California, to the burn ward. I couldn't find out he had, third-degree burns over like 80% of his body. Meanwhile, I went to my grandparents' house and finally went to sleep. And that was the night of the house fire. My mom stayed at the hospital pretty much for the next 2 weeks while my brother was there. She'd come down once in a while just to check up on me and for a change of clothes and what have you. But most of the time she spent there at the hospital with my brother. I didn't go to school for the next 2 weeks, or almost 2 weeks. I was too much in shock and too worried about my brother and all that. So I stayed at home, very depressed. My best friend, Dean, one reason, no matter whatever happens between us, he's always been my best friend because he was there for me. He came over, he tried to help comfort me, tried to help cheer me up. Mom, over the next 2 weeks, my mom and my grandfather kept trying to talk me, go up to Fresno to the hospital to see Jerry Lee. And I'm like, no, I'm not ready to go. Yeah, I can't go. And again, as I've said elsewhere, most recently on my Facebook page, I said that, it was both. I was afraid of seeing what he would look like. I think there was some guilt mixed up in there too for letting it happen to him, for not doing more. But whatever the reason, I avoided going up. And finally, it was like a week and a half later, it was on the weekend, I finally went up to saw him. And I mean, I try not to think about it because it makes me tear up every time, but I can still see him laying in that bed. If someone didn't tell me that was Jerry Lee, I wouldn't have known. Between the bandages and the scar, the burns, I couldn't recognize him as my brother. He was unconscious. They had him on tube, so he couldn't respond to me. I didn't recognize him. It was a horrible scene for me at the time. Though after having said that, I am glad I did go to see him then. The following Monday, I started back to school. My mother, my grandmother, my grandfather kept, they told me I need to get back into the swing of things. Seeing home open's not going to help my brother any. I need to get back into school and proceed with my normal life. So I'm back to school on a Monday. I want to say it was Monday I went back to school. And then Tuesday I went to school. And again, I'm doing this from my memory, so I could be mistaken. It may have just been one day I went. I can't remember. I do remember I went back to school at least one day. And then the next day, Wednesday, the 12th of December, my mom woke me up. And again, remember, as I said earlier, she hadn't been there. My grandmother woke me up, or my uncle or somebody would wake me up for school normally. But on this one day, I believe it was a Wednesday, I don't remember the day. I had to look it up on the online calendar. But my mom woke me up, and I didn't think nothing of it. I mean, she's woken me up for the previous every day of my school life up to that point, so I was used to it. I looked at the time. I saw it was like 8, 9 o'clock. Like, oh, darn, I'm late. So I jumped up out of bed and started getting dressed, and my mom stopped me. She's like, Aaron, stop. I need to talk to you. And it finally dawned on me, realization hit me that my mom was sitting there. And she woke me up late for school. And while I'm trying to get dressed, she's stopping me. None of that made sense all of a sudden. And that's when my 14-year-old world fell apart. She told me that my brother passed away. Previous to this, they had done a couple of different surgeries, skin grafts taken, trying to repair, heal them, fix the burn on them, the burns. They were doing skin grafts, moving skin from one part to the other part and regrowing it and stuff. And a couple of times during, these surgeries, they thought they were going to lose him because his vitals would drop down real low, and they thought they were going to lose him, and all of a sudden he'd pull out. And then when things were starting to look better for him, things were, his vitals were looking fine, everything was starting on the upswing, and that's when he finally died. Which pretty much sums up my brother's life. He's going to do the opposite of what you expect, and the opposite of what you want him to do. So, like I say, when they thought he was going to die, he pulled through. When they thought everything was going fine, he said, you know what? Screw you guys, I'm done. Kind of funny. But anyway, so he died. My mom came home and told me the news, and again, as I said, I lost it. Started crying, bawling. My other uncles, one lived in Fresno, one in Atwater, came down shortly thereafter, and I was still a mess. And so again, I stayed out of school for the next week or two. Depressed. My brother, growing up, he had some issues. He was in special ed for many years. He had some anger issues. So he was seeing a psychologist. I don't remember how often. He was seeing a guy talking to a psychologist every once in a while. And I remember after my brother died, like I said, I was again depressed and not wanting to leave the house. And I was staying with my grandmother at the time. My parents were in a motel while our house was being rebuilt and decided what to do with it and all that good stuff. And my mom had the psychologist come over and talk to me once or twice, see how I was doing. And, like I said, my buddy Dean was always there, trying to help me through it. And I know we were also in a church group, kind of like the Boy Scouts, called the Royal Rangers. And I know our troop leader, Don Gortney, great guy. I've known him for years. He took me out a couple of times and tried to, help me get me out and help me through it. I just want to thank all of them for everything they tried to do for me and what they did for me. But eventually I went back to school. We had the house rebuilt. Shortly after I went back to school, I was in PE. I was a freshman, and I was in PE, and a buddy of mine, Larry Cook, was joking around. He was, again, trying to lighten the mood, trying to, make a joke. He said, I bet the house caught on fire, that you were jerking off too much. Just being as a joke, but I got pissed off, slammed into a locker, and told him, he better shut his face. But I don't know where I'm going with this at this point. But and here it is, 31 years later, and I still wonder, as I said on my Facebook page, what I could have done, what would have happened if I would have went to my bedroom that night. If I'd been there for my brother, maybe we'd both gotten out. Maybe we'd both died. I don't know. What would happen? Another thing I didn't mention at this point yet, I mentioned on my Facebook page. I kind of described the layout of the house a bit earlier. One thing I neglected to mention was that between mine and my brother's room and my parents' room, we had a door connecting the two rooms. We never used it, hardly ever. Usually my mom had boxes and crap on her side. Me and my brothers had toys. My brother had toys and other junk piled in front of our door because we never used it. It wasn't always that way. Sometimes both sides would be cleaned out. Sometimes one or the other would be cleaned out. I don't remember at that point if it was cleaned out. I think Mom may have had some boxes in front of it. Not right next to it, but a little ways away. But again, and the panic, the fire, the smoke, the late nights, I didn't even think about that door. I mean, I could have possibly gotten through that door to got to my brother. It's one of the things I'll never know. And that's one reason why I still, 31 years later, I carry the guilt of what happened to my brother, that I mean, I was 14, not quite 15 years old yet. You can look at that one way and say, heck, I was 14. I was old enough. I should have been able to be responsible enough to take care of my brother, to protect him if something happened. Another way people have said it is, well, you were only 14. Still a kid. What could I have done, I try to think about the second way. I was only 14. I was still a young kid. But a large part of me is like, no, stupid, you were 14. You were almost 15. You were, mid-teenager. Your mom entrusted you with your brother's care. And that's the other part that hurts it. My mom entrusted me to take care of my brother, and I failed her. I mean, she was devastated for a while. My grandfather he came out that night of the fire. He came when he heard the fire trucks and the fire and all that. He came running out, and I remember he was yelling and cussing at my mother, calling her stupid for leaving or letting us go home alone, not being there. So he blamed her, and I'm sure my mother blamed herself. She would never blame me, but I blame myself for it. And just bring up the reason I mentioned about not sure if I left the door open or not. A little while later, there was an article in the paper about it, and for the longest time, my mother wouldn't let me see it. And eventually I got to see it, and basically the article said that, Aaron Moss, we ran out of the house, left the front door open, which the air going in may have helped fan the flames and cause the fire to be more serious. And then I didn't see that until after I saw later on there was a retraction saying that the neighbor guy had mentioned that lived behind us and across the street from us, the volunteer fire guy. He says that he was one that opened up the door when he went at the water hose. So again, I don't know if he was just saying that because he read the article and was trying to help protect me, because that was a good family. The Wrights, or that I don't remember. It's been 31 years. I don't remember at the time what happened, because I was just in a panic. I'm pretty sure I left the door open because I just flung it open and ran out into the night. But that's one of the things that go down in a shroud of mystery, if you will. But I've been rambling here 20 minutes or so about an incident from 31 years ago. So I guess it's about time to wrap this up. I mean, just again, coming up on the 31st anniversary, and hopefully I don't do this every year. I know you guys can get tired of it if you're not already, but again, that's the night that my life changed forever. The night of my worst mistake. If time travel was possible and I'd access that, the one night I would go back to and change it back to November, and I would do more to actually protect my brother, to help my brother so he didn't die. I know later on my mom would say, maybe it's a good thing he died, because he was always getting into trouble. He was the one that would do things just to prove he could do it. And so she's afraid that maybe when he got older, he would have been into drugs or gangs or something just to do it. But again, that's a comfortable way to say, try to comfort yourself. Well, maybe it's better off this way. So a lot of Christian people say, well, he's better off. He's in heaven now. I don't know. And that's part of my problem with religion. I mean, at the time, it didn't really affect me, but over the years, I thought more about it. And you see these things, these kids saved from fire, from car crashes. Oh, the hand of God protected them. If there is indeed some sort of supreme deity out there, whether it's God, Buddha, whoever, where the fuck was he that night? Why the fuck did you let my brother die? So plus I've got that's a whole another discussion. I'm going to have some other time on religion, but that is a small part of why, again, I grew up Pentecostal, but at this point, I don't claim any religion. I think it's all silly and ridiculous. But again, I'll get more of that on an episode on religion. It's not the place for that right here, I guess. So, anyways, I've said this again, so I'm just going to wrap things up here. And again, I'm not telling you guys this to get pity or to get likes or to get, oh, poor Aaron. I'm not doing it for any of that. I'm just doing it to, as I've said before, this is kind of my form of therapy. Maybe talking about it this way, maybe it'll help relieve me some of the burden, some of the guilt I feel. I doubt it. I've been trying it for years, different ways, but it's worth a shot. So, and again, if you get tired of hearing this, I'm sorry. I apologize again. But let's go ahead and wrap this up. I'm going to go and take a break, and I'll put a timestamp or so in the show notes in case you want to skip that. You know where to go to. But go ahead and hold on one second, guys, and I'll I'll be right back with you. Thanks. Head Speaks will be back after these important messages.
Trendus Magnus punches reality at twotruefreaks.com. Discussion about comics, movies, and TV shows. Trendus Magnus punches reality every Tuesday at twotruefreaks.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle Benning, and I love comics. In fact, I love them so much that I ramble on about them on a number of podcasts, all on one feed, found under the King Size Comics Giant Size Fun banner. I talk about comics with extra page counts, like Treasury Comics, Prestige format books, DC's Dollar Comics, Marvel's Giant Size Specials and King Size Annuals, and much, much more. I also love to talk about DC's Crisis on Multiple Earth crossovers, free comics from special promos, Free Comic Book Day, Star Wars, my life as a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan, random comic book back issues, and many other elements of geek culture that happen to strike my fancy. There's new content usually dropping at least once a week, and it's all found on one feed. You can subscribe via iTunes. Just search for King Size Comics Giant Size Fun in the iTunes Store or podcast app on your iPhone. Otherwise, you can follow the podcast at the King Size Comics Giant Size Fun blog headquarters, available at www.kingsizecomicsgiantsizefun.blogspot.com. That's all one word, kingsizecomicsgiantsizefun.blogspot.com, or follow on Facebook by simply searching for King Size Comics Giant Size Fun. So for snappy review and discussions on comics, new and old, usually done from the front seat of my car or my lunch break at work, check out King Size Comics Giant Size Fun.
And now back to Head Speaks. And now for something a little lighter than the last segment, let's go with... At the Movies with Head. To start off my Star Wars themed month, we're going to go ahead and talk about, well, Star Wars. As you may know, unless you're living under a rock, December the 18th of 2015 is going to be a new Star Wars movie, Star Wars Episode 7. I'm not really going to talk about that since the movie's not out. I don't want any spoilers or anything, but I'm going to talk about the day before that. On December the 17th, 2015, several movie theaters is going to play the Star Wars Marathon. This will consist of episodes 1 through 6 played in, I believe, episodic order, followed by I think it's like the midnight premiere of Star Wars, The Force Awakens, aka Star Wars Episode 7. Which all I'm going to say about that is it looks really good from what I've seen. But more about the marathon. The reason I'm mentioning this is, one, it's Star Wars and it's fantastic. Second of all, yours truly will be there. Yes, I've bought my tickets already for the marathon. I'm going to meet with a buddy from work. His name's Gabe. We're going to go and watch the Star Wars Marathon, episodes 1 through 6. This will be the first time having seen all these movies on the large screen in many years. I mean, I saw episodes 1, 2, and 3 when they came out. I saw the re-release in 3D of episode 1. But as far as 4, 5, and 6, I don't think I've seen them in the movie theaters for years. And so it was only $50 to go, which I think is a really good deal. And I'm excited to be going to see the Star Wars movies. I mean, I could take time, go through and cover all 6 movies and talk about them again, but I think I did that pretty well when I talked with Ryan Daly over in episode 9 of Head Speaks. So definitely go check out episode 9 if you want to hear me and Ryan talk about Star Wars, the movies, the cartoons, the novels, a little bit of everything. But that's going to do it for this month's episode of At the Movies with Head. Again, I just want to let everyone know about the Star Wars Marathon, which will be out next week. I'll be there with a buddy of mine from work. I hope it should be good times. But anyways, this was a rather short segment, so we're going to go and move on to the next one.
Butterfly in the sky, I can go twice as high. Take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow.
Who can read on the run and have lots of fun? Speed reader, speed reader. Who can do a handstand and read everything on the newsstand? Speed reader, speed reader. Speed reader. Who can run forward and back and read everything in the stack? Speed reader, speed reader, speed reader, speed reader. And here he comes, Canal!
Head and Head's Bookshelf. This month I'm not going to talk about a book per se. I'm going to talk about a series of books. Again, since this is my second Star Wars month, we're going to talk a little bit about Star Wars and the series called Legacy of the Force. And this description is what I pulled off of the Wikipedia entry for it. Just give you a little brief background on it and what the story is. The Legacy of the Force is a series of 9 science fiction novels set in the Star Wars Expanded Universe, taking place approximately 40 years after the events of Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, known to us old people time as Star Wars. This series, 9 books, takes place approximately a year span from Star Wars chronological from 40 ABY, which is after the Battle of Yavin, to 41 ABY. The series was written by Troy Denning, Aaron Alston, and Karen Travis in an alternating cycle. And the basics of the story is that the Corellian system, which is where Han Solo's from, is unhappy with the leadership of the Galactic Alliance, and they try to secede. While the Galactic Alliance attempts to bring Corellia back into the fold, other systems follow Corellia's lead. Meanwhile, Jedi Knight Jacen Solo believes he has the potential to defeat the threat and unify the galaxy. His methods draw the ire of his uncle Luke Skywalker and the Jedi Council, leading to a rift in the Jedi Order. Over the course of the 9 books, the Galactic Alliance, the Jedi, Jacen, Corellia, the Imperial Remnants, which is what's left of the Imperials from the original Star Wars movies, and their descendants, and several other factions all vie for power, leading to a confrontation that will dramatically reshape the future of the galaxy. Plus, there's a side plot involving Boba Fett's family issues, leaderships of the Mandalorians, and a role in the galactic conflict. And that about sums up the Legacy of the Force series of books. There's actually one more set of books that takes place after this, before the entire expanded universe is wiped away, basically, with the new Star Wars universe. I'm a little over halfway through those set of books. But let's go back and talk about what we're here about, the Legacy of the Force. I'm going to say right up front, I'm going to lay my cards out on the table, face up. Overall, I enjoyed these books. Some of them weren't as good as others. Some of them were kind of clunky. Overall, though, I enjoyed this. I thought this was a much better way of showing how someone could fall to the dark side than the episodes 1 through 3 did. Again, don't get me wrong. As I talked about with Ryan in episode 9, I personally enjoyed the prequels, but I could see where people would have a problem with them. And again, I have seen some of these problems as they've been mentioned to me. I still enjoy the movies for what they were, but having said all that, I'm saying this. I thought, and again, my opinion, I thought this Legacy of the Force series of books did a lot better job showing Jason's fall to the dark side than the movies did with Anakin. Part of it was the writing. Again, as me and Ryan said, George Lucas, a hell of an idea, man. Not that great of a writer. Also, I was reading the novel so I could get more of the characters' thoughts. That helped out. Plus, I could visualize whoever I wanted to be to play the role of Jason. I wasn't stuck with Hayden Christensen, a guy I can't really stand as an actor, playing Anakin. Again, as I've said previously, I think that would have helped if we would have had a better Anakin. But hey, I'm not George Lucas. I'm not involved with it. And that's my opinion. So what are you going to do? But anyways, this series of novels, as I talked about in the recap of it basically tells how much like, and again, a lot of these books you can look at as a commentary on our own society, much like I think a lot of our society and our government has been. It's being bogged down by government bureaucracy and just people out for their own ends, and things aren't going as well as they should be. Then you get other in the novel planets, such as Corellia, that they don't want to join the I won't call it Federation, but that's Star Trek. They don't want to join up with the Alliance and give 100%, but they want the Alliance's backing, and they want the benefits. Like a lot of people in our society, they don't want to do their part, but they want the full benefits. And the Alliance is trying to stop this from happening because they know once one planet secedes, other planets are going to follow suit, and it's just going to make it hard to fight any outside threats, such as they see the Imperial Remnant being an outside threat, rightly so. Also, I should add, this is hot on the heels, several years after, story-wise, after the Yanga Vong, I'm probably mispronouncing that, the outside alien race. And that's part of the problem with the world is it's out of a war. They're trying to rebuild their capital planet. Other planets have suffered from it, so they're trying to deal with the backlash of being attacked by these aliens. And like I said, we follow the story as Jason Solo, who is one of the twin kids of Han Solo and Princess Leia from the original movies. For backstory-wise, previously in the previously mentioned Yanga Vong War, Jason was kidnapped. He was tortured by these aliens. And then afterwards, he went on a 5-year journey to try to find himself and learn more about the Force. And some of his thoughts is some of the same things I've been saying about the Force for years, is that I don't know if there's really a good side or a light side and a dark side to the Force. It's how the Force is used. And these are some of the same theories that he's come up with over his journeys. He finds other people that use the Force different ways. He's learning different things about the Force. He's learned a little bit about the dark side, if you will. And he insinuates himself into the government and rises up quickly through the ranks. So he comes down to, eventually he is one of the chief of states. He becomes in charge of the military, and he becomes one of the chief of states for the Galactic Alliance. And in doing so, he makes some bad decisions. He attacks people he shouldn't be. He puts together like basically a secret service portion of the Alliance, and he uses it to capture aliens that he finds that may be suspicious, or they think some of their other people have attacked. Again, kind of this took place several years ago, but it's kind of analog today. We have Muslims attacking us, and so we have some people, usually far right side Republicans, wanting to ban all Muslims and Syrians and other people from coming to the country because of what they could do. Jason's taken it a bit further than that. He's actually locked them up, killed like Bothans and other species that he feels against him. But this basically tells the story of Jason's eventual fall to the dark side, and also, again, spoilers, his defeat and his death by the hands of his sister, Jaina Solo, who's referred to as the Sword of the Jedi. But again, it was a 9-issue series. Not all the books were fantastic, but overall, I would definitely recommend checking out the Legacy of the Force series. Also, as I mentioned, there was a side plot with Boba Fett and his family issues. Boba Fett is tied directly into the story as one of the earlier people that Jason kills that starts him down the dark side is Boba Fett's daughter, and we find out that Boba Fett has a granddaughter who ends up working with him, and Boba Fett and his granddaughter help teach Jaina basically how to attack and how to fight someone that uses the Force, or to fight Jedi, since he's become such a pro at it. But again, I think that's all I really got to say about that series of books. I definitely recommend the Star Wars Legacy of the Force series. Go to your local library and check them out. Even though, like I say, that continuity is no longer in existence, it's still a good series of books. But that is what's on Head's bookshelf. But stay tuned. I'm going to play a few promos for some podcasts, and then we'll be right back for the last section of Head Speaks.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Head Speaks will be right back.
It started as an idea, a flicker. Now with a simple voice email to the Superman in the Bronze Age podcast, that flicker has become a flame.
Now, Russell, you're ready to start a podcast.
Yep, you're ready to go.
Yes, start it, and then we can email you.
Whoa. And Russell has been, the most consistent emailer. I think it's time that he does start a show.
DC Comics Presents. After Dave's done, and, you're not covering every issue. So he could do all of them.
I would highly recommend that, actually.
That would be awesome. So there you go, Russell. Go for it. I can't wait to hear his reaction to this.
Well, boys, here's your response. The DC Comics Presents show, hosted by me, Russell Bragg. On each episode, I will cover one issue of DC Comics Presents in publishing order until I reach the end of the series. I will also be covering all 4 annuals. Plus, I will be doing a character spotlight on each of Superman's guest stars, and I'll be going to the spinner rack to see what other comic books were available. Join me each episode of the DC Comics Presents show. Please go to the show's website at www.dccpshow.com for more information. That's DCCPSHOW.
I got a bad feeling about this.
You'd be feeling a lot better, Han, if you were listening to Dead Bothan Spies, a Star Wars podcast hosted by me, Ryan Daly.
That doesn't sound too hard.
It's not hard. You just check out Dead Bothan Spies on iTunes, Facebook, or the blog page, deadbothanspies.blogspot.com.
Don't be too proud of this technological terror you've constructed.
Well, I don't know if terror is an appropriate description. It's a podcast that combines everything you love about me talking and some of what you love about Star Wars.
I want to learn the ways of the Force and become a Jedi like my father.
Fine, whatever. Do that after you listen to Dead Bothan Spies.
Yoda. You seek Yoda.
No, you seek Dead Bothan Spies, a Star Wars podcast. Check it out. It beats kissing a Wookiee, I would think.
And now back to Head Speaks.
On your mark, get set. We're riding on the internet.
The internet is really, really great.
For porn.
I got a fast connection so I don't have to wait.
For porn.
What? There's always some new site.
For porn.
I browse all day and night.
For porn.
It's like I'm surfing at the speed of light.
For porn.
Internet porn, Roman orgy scenes. Internet porn, dominatrix queens. Internet porn, girl on girl on girl on girl on girl on guy on sheep.
Bet you're going surfing on the internet.
Where is Head going?
And welcome back. Now, for today's episode of Where's Head Going? The last promo you listened to, you may have heard, it was for a podcast called Dead Bothan Spies, a Star Wars podcast. Well, that is where Head's going today. We're going to talk about, again, continuing on with podcasts I listen to, Dead Bothan Spies, a Star Wars podcast by a buddy of mine named Ryan Daly. Ryan is one of my guest hosts on my G.I. Joe, a Real American Head podcast. He's appeared previously on Head Speaks, and he's got a couple of other podcasts that I've been on, the Secret Origins podcast for one, and I'll be back on there again here soon. But Ryan, in his Dead Both and Spies podcast, as you can tell, talks about Star Wars. Currently, it's mostly about The Force Awakens. The last 7 podcasts he's done was under an umbrella called his 7 predictions for Star Wars, or something to that effect, where he makes 7 different predictions of what he thinks is going to be in the Force Awakens movie. But again, I definitely recommend checking out Ryan Daly's Dead Both and Spies, a Star Wars podcast. You can find it on iTunes or wherever you find your good podcasts. Go ahead and check out Ryan. Let him know what you think about it. Let him know Aaron sent you. And anyways, yeah, listen to Dead Both and Spies. All right, thanks, guys. Hold on. Again, I know it's a short little segment here, so we're going to move on to the next segments. Because again, not much really to say about Dead Both and Spies other than it's a really good podcast talking about a really good subject matter. Hold on for the next segment, kids.
Mail time.
Here's the mail, it never fails. It makes me want to wag my tail. When it comes, I want to wail.
You've got mail. And welcome back once again. We're back with another short segment. Again, I haven't gotten any emails, so there's no emails to read. Again, if you guys would send me some emails, I could make this a longer section. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and read off people that have liked or commented on my Head Speaks Facebook page. Again, so we're going to start with Tim Wallace, the Secret Origins podcast, which, again, as I mentioned earlier, is by my buddy Ryan Daly. I was on episode 14. I am scheduled to appear on episode 28, plus another episode in the near future. Definitely check that out. Firestorm Fan, which is my buddy, the Irredeemable Shag, who's been on this podcast, and also he's been on my Task Force X podcast. Gene Hendricks, Shag Matthews, who is the Irredeemable Shag, AJ Flynn, Michelle Moss, Yolanda Coach, Ruben Santos, Ryan Daly of the aforementioned Secret Origins podcast, Angela Plack, and Michael Wagner. Yeah, there's some silence there because that's it. No one else has commented, liked, sent me emails, left messages on the blog. So that's all I got for this month. Again, if you guys want to hear your message read or your name read, go ahead and leave me a message. Like our Facebook post. Again, we can be found over on Facebook under Head Speaks. We can be found on Google Plus under Head Speaks. Even though, honestly, I don't check that all that often, but we are under Google Plus. You can send us an email to head@headspeaks.com. And if you want to hear your message read on the air, or your thoughts from you actually verbalized on the air, you can send us an MP3 to that same address, head@headspeaks.com, and I can play an MP3 file on the air if you want to, have your voice heard over the airways. But definitely send us an email, leave us a blog post, leave us a Facebook message or like, and you too will get mentioned on Head Speaks. But I guess that's it for this month of Head Speaks. Join us again next month for Head Speaks. I don't know what I'll be talking about, but I will be here talking. As for our final song today, you know what? I haven't picked anything out yet. Let me take a quick look at my iTunes and we'll pick a song out. There we go. Perfect song. I was thinking about playing maybe something from Weird Al, one of his Star Wars parody songs. But then I realized this is the beginning of December. So before I play my final song and sign out, I do want to wish all of my listeners a very Merry Christmas, a Happy Holidays, a Happy New Year. I hope you guys had a Happy Thanksgiving, and we will see you next month. We hope you guys have a good New Year. And our final song is It's a Fanboy Christmas, which was played on Dr. Demento. I don't know who originally did this song. Sorry for my lack of information on it. But yes, it's called It's a Fanboy Christmas. Seeing how it's Christmas time. Merry Christmas, guys, and Happy New Year. We'll see you next month. Thank you for listening to another fantastic episode of Head Speaks. Hope you enjoyed it. If so, let me know. Drop me an email to head@headspeaks.com or visit our home at head.headspeaks.com. You can also visit and talk with me on Facebook and Google+, both under Head Speaks. You can also send an MP3 file with your thoughts, and I can play that on the air. And you can also get more of me on my other podcasts. Be sure to listen to Task Force X, where monthly I look at John Ossinger's Suicide Squad and Paul Kuppenberg's Checkmate comics from the 80s and early 90s. Also, over on G.I. Joe, A Real American Headcast, my podcasting friends Ryan Daly and Kyle Benning, along with myself, are looking at all of the G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero comics, and related titles from Marvel and IDW. All of my headcasts are available on iTunes and Stitcher, along with the respective blogs and my main page at headspeaks.com. All comments, thoughts, and opinions expressed on Head Speaks are owned wholly by the speaker of said comments, and do not express the opinions of Head Speaks, unless, of course, I'm the one making the comments. Head Speaks, Task Force X, and G.I. Joe, A Real American Headcast, are all part of the Headcast family. So, join us next month, another wonderful episode of Head Speaks. Until then, I'll see you in the funny pages. Good night.
It's a fanboy Christmas, there's geekdom in the air. The comic shops and toy stores are crowded everywhere. Each dork and dweeb and doofus does their holiday thing. They form a nerdy chorus and they all begin to sing. All I want for Christmas is my emotion chip. Emotion chip. Emotion chip. All I want for Christmas is my emotion chip, so I can have a Merry Christmas. Androids cannot feel merry, not to mention loving or affection. If I do not get my emotion chip, I will start an insurrection. Gowron got run over by a reindeer on his way to fight the Dominion War. Now he's drinking down his Christmas blood wine in the cursed halls of Sto-vo-kor. Said the barkeep to his brother Ram, do you hear what I hear? Translated from ancient Bajoran. Oh, Jadzia. Goldicott kills you in the 6th season. Cheese was a punch. That's what she gets for wearing a red wedding dress on a Star Trek show. It's a fanboy Christmas at Renfest and conventions. We're sending all the fruitcakes to alternate dimensions. Bashir walked into the bar. What would you like, Quark said. Bashir responded, eggnog, and Nog got egged in the head. Ow! Buffy the Vampire Slayer made a really crappy film. Luke Perry and Paul Rubens made the average viewer ill. All of the Warner Brothers gave it a Tim Burton twist. Now watch her kill on TV, showing off her ample acting ability. Angel, you're a Studley guy. Watch out, girls, he'll suck you dry. Oh, Mulder and Scully are on my rooftop. What have they come here to see? UFO reindeer? Is it St. Nick? No, it's a big conspiracy now. 'Cause we need little X-Files. We'll be overjoyous when we fill our stockings
full of paranoia, so just send the men in black home, because they annoy us. We need a little X-Files now. Now my DM is a curmudgeon. He trapped me in a dungeon. I hope these dice will save my troll. Let it roll, let it roll, let it roll. Now you may think my life is tragic, 'cause I play with cards and magic that cost me my eternal soul. Let it roll, let it roll, let it roll. It's a fanboy Christmas from Roswell to Missouri. We're wishing happy Kwanzaa to Lando and Uhura. Our Jewish friends have opened the gifts and we did buy 'em. The brand new kosher transformer, Optimus L'chaim. Hercules and Xena, Hercules and Xena, Hercules and Xena, Yolis Gabrielle. Hercules and Xena, Hercules and Xena, Hercules and Xena, Yolis Gabrielle. Herc is a demigod, Zine has a killer body. Yolis died and Gabby cried 'cause Joxer is a clod. Oh, Tribble, 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 you're made of fluffy fur. Tribble, 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 we love to hear you purr. Tribble, 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 you're really just a pain. Tribble, 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 you ate up all our drain. Get on your Tontonica, it's Star Wars Hanukkah. You can hang out with Qui-Gonica on the Millennium Falconica with a Wookiee named Chewbacca. You'll see Obi-Wanica, so go see episode Wanica and have a happy, happy, happy Star Wars Hanukkah. It's a fanboy Christmas, the temperature is nipply, so throw aliens on the fire with that new clone of Ripley. The anime cartoon stars are all getting along. The Dementites and Dementoids are all listening to this song. Woo! Danger, danger, young Will Robinson. For Dr. Smith is coming, Will Robinson. I know you have been searching for Babylon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're hungry, have some fish heads, eat them up, yum. Eat them up, yum. Eat them up, yum. Linoleum. I saw Marvin kissing Santa Claus underneath the doorway late last night.
Please enjoy your trip through the store. Enjoy tonight's film, It's a Wonderful Life.
It's a wonderful life. Don't talk to me about It's a Wonderful Life. Christmas, Christmas time is here. I hit the Toy Story cheer. Slip the sucker A20. Action figures all for me. At convention sell the goods. I'll charge 12 times what they're worth. Gee, this Christmas time is swell. Until all the little kids who want to buy the toys just so that they can play with them all get together and hunt me down and catch me and kill me, and then I'll burn in hell. It's a fanboy Christmas, and outside it's a blizzard. So curl up by the fire with your copy of Wizard. Lara Croft, New Yule Raider, it just might oversex us. And Wolverine is here to wish us all a Merry Xmas. Jingle bells, Batman smells, Robin laid an egg. The Batmobile broke its wheel and the Joker got away. Penguin spewed Riddler's food in Two-Face's cup. When Catwoman soiled her litter, Alfred cleaned it up. Silent Bob, Jay and Bob. Hatchet Man is their job. Just to pot profits with some weird quirks. Just to mall rats hassling clerks. Always chasing a lead and smoking snoochie boochie. God rest ye merry Pokemon inside your Pokeballs. Team Rocket, Jesse, James, and Meowth are here to wreck your halls. No decorations will they hang, nor carols will they sing. They're too busy Poke Christmas card collecting, stealing all that they can get from Burger King. Should Voyager ever get home and again see Earth's sunshine, then you'll find me out on the town with my date 7 of 9. It's a fanboy Christmas, no time to dilly-dally. Get all the geeks together, cause it's time for the finale. On the 12th day of Christmas, my fangirl gave to me 12 LARPers LARPing, 11 filkers filking, 10 apes from Deep Space Nine, Doctor Who's 8, sweet transvestite 7 of 9, 6 Ewoks dancing, 5 Cardassian lights. There are 4 lights! 4 Starfleet captains, 3 Star Wars prequels, 2 protocol droids, and there can be only one Sci-Fi Channel on my TV. We wish you a fanboy Christmas. We wish you a fanboy Christmas. We wish you a fanboy Christmas and a